This video was brought to you by Patreon. Hey you, how's it going? My name is Ruby Price and today I thought I would do a video that I did back in 2019 but didn't do in 2020 and now I'm doing it again in 2021. That still feels weird to say, but yeah, as you can tell by the title, this is a video about the movies that I would like to see in 2021. All of this obviously very much depends on how movies work in 2021. Because, one, I'm not a big fan of streaming movies for the first time when I watch them. Two, I would really like to see them in the cinema. And three, this obviously could be totally affected by release schedules, hence why some of the movies that I mentioned in 2019 are still on this list. Although obviously, the ones that are on this list are more likely to be affected by COVID than the development hell that affected them in 2019. So to be upfront, most of these movies are being made by big studios, and to find out if they're being released this year, I literally just scrolled through IMDb at the movies that are coming out in 2021. So some of this data may not be accurate. It's certainly accurate at the time. I'm also planning on repeating something that I did in 2018 regarding movies this year, which is take note of all the movies that I watch, whether they're new or old, and give them a rating so that I can see, how many movies I've watched at the end of the year, what I thought of them, any particular repeats and stuff, and if my opinion changes upon repeat. So yeah, I'm hoping to watch a lot of things this year. As I say, whether they're old, new, or new. 10 points if you can tell me what that's a reference to. In no particular order, let's start off with The Kingsman. Now, I was very late getting on the hype of the Kingsman franchise. I saw that it had become a thing when it came out, but it looked like another young spy movie, and I'd had enough of James Bond at the time as well. The Charlie Higson, the Stormbreaker adaptations didn't quite pull it off either, so I was kind of fed up and I just didn't think that it would be a good movie. And then by the time that the second one came out, I'd heard a lot of good things about the first Kingsman movie, and then I think it was last year I actually finally watched the first Kingsman movie. Didn't see the sequel until much later, so I am looking forward to seeing the prequel, as I believe it is, the third movie in this franchise. Obviously going for a different approach. It's going to take place before, it's almost undoubtedly getting a different cast, but the Kingsman franchise does appear to have carved its own way into something, and I'm curious to see how it goes, because I really think that Kingsman 1 is a game changer. Kingsman 2 Golden Circle is kind of more of the same, but whether you think that's better or not is a different matter. So The Kingsman, if it's more of the same, then great. If it does something different and makes it better, that's fantastic. But either way, I'm sure it will be a great movie to watch, and I am looking forward to it. Finally, this movie's coming out. I mentioned this in my 2019 video, but Chaos Walking. Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley, based off the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness. One of my favourite book trilogies that I've ever read. Yeah, really looking forward to it. Kind of worried that it looks like they're throwing all three books into one, which, we've seen, it makes a change to them trying to put one book into three movies. But yeah, I'm interested to see how it's going to work. Particularly the implementation of the noise and the sparkle and other things. I think they're called the sparkle. Yeah, I'm just curious to see how this is going to work, and if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, at least they've given it a go. That's all, that's all I want from movies. Give things a try. You never know, if it works, it works. Speaking of movies we're finally getting, Black Widow. Fans of the MCU have been calling for a Black Widow movie since she showed up in Iron Man 2. And honestly, it's about time we're getting it. Based on the trailer that we got so long ago, the movie's been delayed because of COVID, but based on the trailer that we got, it looks kind of a bit like the superhero-esque Salt, a movie starring Angelina Jolie that I like. Haven't watched it in a while, but I remember liking it. So I'm interested to see how it goes. Obviously it kind of is weakened a bit by the fact that, we know Black Widow's eventual, demise and stuff in Endgame. By the way, Black Widow. Looks like it might be a good time. Another Marvel Disney movie, Spider-Man 3. I'm kind of worried because all of the stuff around it looks like, you know, it could be a mess. Every single time they announce, oh, so-and-so from the Raimi trilogy is coming back, or so-and-so from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movies, one of which doesn't really count as a movie because it's terrible. But, you know, every time I see that, I'm like, okay, so you're going with the multiverse thing. Please don't fuck it up, because, you know, the reason as to why Spider-Man 3 sucks is because they chucked so much in, there was so much studio interference. The reason why The Amazing Spider-Man 2 sucks is because they spent so much time trying to set up the Sinister Six rather than making a good movie. I have really liked the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm wondering how they're going to implement Home into Spider-Man 3. But I have enjoyed them and I'm excited to see what comes next. I'm relieved to see that we're getting something else as well, particularly after all of that, you know, Sony debacle that happened. I'm curious to see how they're going to address the bombshell that they ended Spider-Man Far From Home with. The next movie is going to be very interesting to see. The Matrix 4. It's got one of the Wachowskis coming back. It's apparently bringing back a lot of its original cast as well. The Matrix is an astounding movie. You know, it changed the face of sci-fi, it changed the face of that particular genre, but then the Wachowskis kind of spun their wheels with The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions. It was almost as though they had a good idea and they put most of it in the first one, and then they were like, well, we've still got some of this idea, let's make Reloaded, but then they wanted a trilogy. So yeah, it kind of falls apart in the last two parts. You know, there are still some really cool action scenes and some really memorable moments, but there are some tragic graphics. So it'll be interesting to see if they've learned their lesson from The Matrix 2 and 3 with this Matrix sequel that no one probably ever thought they were going to get. And finally, let's end this with a movie that I was hopeful might come out when I made this video last time, The Drowning of Arthur Braxton. It's the directorial debut of Luke Cutforth, based on a book of the same name by Carolyn Smales? One of those? Sorry. Not that you'd ever watch this. But yeah, it's a movie that I backed on Kickstarter all the way back in 2015, it might have been 2016. Either way, a long time ago. And I've been really excited for it to come out. You know, making a movie on a Kickstarter budget takes its time, particularly if you want it to be good. And I have every faith that Luke is going to make a movie that will be good. I've seen a couple of clips from it, and from what I've seen, you know, why wouldn't I have faith? So, have you got any movies that you're excited for that are coming out this year? Let me know so that I can add them to my list. And as an extra comment question, how do you prefer to watch movies? Are you like me, a cinema loyalist, where, you know, every time you see a movie for the first time, it should be this big event, you know, in the cinema with the atmosphere, and I'm risking that someone further down the road is going to potentially ruin that experience for you, but it's still something that you wouldn't change no matter what you were offered? Let me know. If you did enjoy this video, do all that generic YouTube stuff, like, share, comment, subscribe, etc, etc. I do have a Patreon if you'd like to support me, there's links in the description. As always, I've been Ruby Price, and I'll see you next time. Adios. Bye.